live.
Thank you for joining us today on the community briefing on this Thursday, January the 12th. This is our second episode of 2023, and we're excited to bring a special guest. We'll talk about radio, present, future, and the past. My name is Stephen Turner. I'm a financial advisor, consultant with the Slayton Group. We do risk management insurance, and I'm also one of the producers of this particular show. But yet, the creator of the community briefing and the architect of it, I'd like to pass the mic over to her, Crystal Mitchell.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, Stephen. We have an awesome team, guys, bringing you what we need in order to connect and collaborate within our community. So this is a collaborative effort. The community briefing is a platform that's powered by Recycling Black Dollars and Black Business Association, the BBA. We're sponsored by Wells Fargo, Southern California Edison, Northrop. Our latest and newest sponsor is PCR, Pacific Coast Regional Center. I think they have a different name, but I'll get it eventually. And as well as Southern California Edison. So I am so happy you guys are here. My name is Crystal Mitchell, and yes, I'm the co-director of Recycling Black Dollars, as well as I have my own business, Mitchell Business Solutions. I'm a business coach for the community. Actually, I provide business coaching for the small businesses that are represented by about 4 or 5 of the nonprofit agencies that focus on small minority businesses. In addition to that, I have another podcast called The Business Zone with Crystal and Gilbert. We've been on the air this year, 7 years. We're really happy about that. The community briefing, I think this is our third year. I think. So
May will be.
We'll be third year in March. It was brought in, it was my inspiration as a result of the pandemic. I wanted to make sure that we had an outlet and a resource that was going to bring us up-to-date current information so that we would not get ignored during the pandemic, and we also would be able to support our businesses in our organization. So that was really what it was for. And now it kind of grew its own wings. And Stephen reached out to me and said, hey, can I get in on it? And I was like, okay. I'm not even sure what we got here, but we're going to make it work. So it has. And I want to thank all and everyone that in 2022 that were guests on the platform, bringing so much information to us, informative information. So this platform is inspired to bring our leaders and stakeholders, those of us that are, and those of them that are making and doing things on our behalf in our community, making sure we are we are abreast of what's happening in the now. So we want to thank you all. We got a great guest today, my buddy, Mr. Illya Dailey. He's going to put his name down and replace Stephen, because you're not Stephen, you're you. And he's going to bring us some great stuff. Illya has been you've been an icon in the community as well. And so Stephen's going to read his bio, but he's been with a number of radio stations doing his thing, and he's a great personality. And so we're happy that he was able to come out and join us today. So with that, Stephen and team, Stephen Turner, Greg Sneed, he is not here today, and Ms. Robin Billups, she also is taking care of herself today. And so, but that is the team of the community briefing. So please support us, share us, reach out to us. Go over to our YouTube channel, the Community Briefing, and subscribe to us. We have a goal so that we can start raising money and acquiring donations to keep the platform going. So with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Stephen.
Thank you so much, Crystal. Today's guest is an icon in the community. Not only is a local product from Cal State Dominguez, if I get that right, Cal State of Long Beach. Testing Mike. He's also with KBLA Radio with Stevie Wonder, and now he's heading up as the brand manager at radio station KBLA 1580 AM radio. So we're going to hear the insight of the launching of the new 1580 AM radio, KBLA, the format, what is the future of radio, as well as other mediums and how to use it. And also I'd like to wish him a happy belated birthday on the 9th of January. We celebrate his birthday, Mr. Dailey, and he's joining us all the way from Hawaii on his vacation, someone who's dedicated. So we Crystal, can we unmute him, please?
Let me see if I can. I can't unmute him, but there we go. All righty. So someone's saying they can't hear us. Can everyone hear us?
Happy belated birthday. Can you hear me?
Okay, happy birthday. All right, I think we're good.
How things on Hawaii?
Uh-oh, and he's muted back. Unmute yourself. Now we're having technical difficulties.
Why he's going through technical difficulties? 1580 KBLA AM radio is a talk radio, live radio, and has a programming delivery to meet the community needs, similar to what we're trying to do in the community briefing. You probably heard of a gentleman named Titus Smiley. He's the pending owner of KBLA radio. Mr. Dailey will tell us a little bit more about that. Mr. Dailey, can we test your mic?
Can you hear us?
Can you hear us?
Can you hear us? You can't hear. Go down to your settings and make sure you got you're selecting the right microphone and the right speaker.
While you pulling up that, how many people are familiar with 1580 KBLA, the new format? Okay.
Yeah, I got several friends doing shows over there.
So it's the format that we subscribe to and that we support in that regard to deliver content and information. I'm going to try to unmute him right quick. And also, while we're waiting for Mr. Dailey to unmute himself, I want you to be aware that we're in the middle of January in this rainy season. And, for everyone to be careful out there on the roads.
Okay, can you hear us?
Good. Can you guys hear me?
Now we can. Welcome, dude. Welcome. Happy birthday. Belated birthday.
Hey, thank you. I appreciate you guys very much. I really do.
Wait, one question though. How come I didn't see that on Facebook? You put everything else up there on Instagram. What's up with that, dude?
As far as what? Me being on vacation? Sometimes you got to shut it all down. Everybody don't need to know everything. So
no, the birthday.
Yeah, we had a little thing at the Nile Bar on Friday night, and then it's been I'm not big on celebrating my own birthday, but it seemed like I had some great friends this year that wanted to kind of hang out. So it was a good time. But you be watching. You can come hang out anytime,
I do.
Krista. Yeah, and nice to meet everyone. I see you got Donna on here. Hi, Donna.
Hey, cause of you.
Well, we gave a brief introduction, but tell us a little bit about who you are, what you do, your personal journey, and the new KBLA 1580 AM radio.
For most that know me, I've been in the marketplace for about 27 years, primarily working with consumer behavior. I've worked for pretty much all the big Fortune 500 companies and with a lot of diversity. And then I've decided in the last probably 10 years to kind of focus more so on that consumer behavior and relative to advertising and marketing to the black side of the world, because I've already dealt with the Anglo side of the world. And just trying to figure out how to make small businesses operate better, different, more efficient in regards to my space, which is basically understanding consumer behavior based on, spending dollars and things of that nature, and all the analytics that goes with a science of being able to have the right customer for if it's a walk-in restaurant or if you chase bank. So that's what I do. Now I'm a senior brand manager at KBLA Radio, working with Tavis Smiley. It's the first Black AM talk radio station west of the Mississippi. So to put that in perspective, there's only 4 Black-owned talk radio stations in the nation. So if you look at LA alone has over 152 radio stations with the talk market spending over $300 billion in marketing and advertising a year. And that's the KFIs, the KBCs, the KRLAs. So Tavis has really come along and created a lot of great content, which is the programming part of it. It's what you hear. So we have a great lineup with Dominique in the morning. She starts the day off. Tavis, of course, comes on. Then we have a financial group that comes on, which is Lynn Richardson, who's actually sponsored with Chase Bank. Naja Roberts talking about Bitcoin. And then, of course, Donna Michi, who used to be at KGLH. And then comes on Leo Hewley, Zoe Williams talking about relationships. So he's built these platforms, and Danny Morrison at night with Robin Ayers. So it's a variety show in the core. And then on the weekends, there's roughly about 13 to 15 shows that's relative to other things that we could talk about in the marketplace. And so it's just been a great opportunity. We've actually been kind of trying to figure out who we are and what's our story. And I think our story is just getting these exclusives, the Karen Bass exclusive, helping her get to the mayoral election. Kevin De Leon actually giving his side of the story. So these have just been some really hot buttons in the community. And we've actually, because we are a talk radio station, having the ability to get that content out there. And then, of course, we're a startup. So it takes millions and millions of dollars to be able to kind of operate in the LA space. So that's my job, is to be able to build as much revenue and sponsorship so that the station can vibe. And that's what radio does. So thanks for having me. And any way I can help you guys, I'm here to help.
Tell us a little bit more about the launching of KBLA 1580 AM radio. How did it come about? And what is your strategic focus, once again, in the marketplace?
It just came, as you know, talk radio has been all white all night. So I think Tavis is really the actual creator of coming up with content that could be relative to Black folks, brown folks, and just kind of the middle of the road. It means, that's his passion. So I don't fall under that will. I kind of fall into the will of saying, watching something develop from nothing. And to see where we're at. I mean, we're over $2 million in annual sponsorship billing within the first year. So says a lot. And a lot of that is a local Los Angeles, greater LA business. And then a lot of it is that people don't know about KBLA. And you would think it's the history behind KBLA, which 1580 was the first hip hop radio station, which was K-Day. Right. So everyone knew about K-Day. So K-Day, of course, turned into an FM station, as we know today, where basically it's not Black, it played Black music, but it's hosted by Hispanics. So 1580, the original 1580 call letters, basically was a Hispanic Christian spiritual station. So when we took over the station, we got 0 listeners. It's not like if you took over KGLH, they've been around 50,000 years. They got over 300,000 people who listen to the station. You have this growth. So we had come from 0 growth to be able to be where we are today. And a lot of that's just a combination of just people like myself that's in the marketplace with events and working with all the different various businesses. Chase Bank is one of our biggest accounts. MVP Attorneys is one of our bigger accounts. So, we thrive in to build these 52-week relationships to be able to kind of keep the doors open, keep the lights open, and being able to have people like yourself and Crystal to have a forum that you can actually increase your bandwidth with.
Okay. What is in a nutshell, how did radio come about? What is its heyday and what is its future?
It's funny because, it's a world of digital scenarios. People are on iPads and people are on all different types of tablets and way that they're actually getting content and information. So because people always tell me, or if a client I'm meeting with, and he says, I don't listen to the radio. I said, well, I don't know a car that's been built yet that don't have a radio in it. So that says a lot. I mean, people want to get that content. I think what's happening, podcasts has become very, very popular, as you know, Crystal, having, the Business Zone and working with people like, LA Talk Live, which was Richard Carr, who was back in 2015. And then you have Portis, Morris Productions, who actually gave forums back in 2014, 2015 of podcasting, which became an audio visual piece. So with the audio visual piece, it's kind of reawakened radio, because now you can take the radio bandwidth. And if you look at any radio station that's talk, or they have a podcast element, which is the audio visual pieces. So I think radio is going to thrive. And I think it's going to thrive just because of the audio visual content that is out there, and being more, people follow people. When I worked for KBLA, people followed Steve Harvey. So after Steve Harvey went off, I worked for KBC. People followed Larry Elder. People followed Sean Hannity. And you got to understand, where those consumers are going to be. So, and it's working with the on-air personalities. But I do see radio not going anywhere. It's going to continue to thrive. And I think it's going to be digital elements that's going to come to play to be able to make it more feasible. Because really, most people don't even know how to get to their AM radio station in their car. So there's a style. So the mobile app becomes an additive to be able to get more of a local as well as a national platform of consumers and audience. So hopefully I answered your question. So
you did. And first of all, I applaud you for the position that you hold in our community, for being a face and voice as a brand manager, being that bridge between corporate as well as community sponsors in the radio station. But tell us a little bit about your personal journey. What brought you here, as you celebrate another trip around the sun?
Yeah, I come from real humble beginnings in regards to the community. My grandmother was Mary Ann Wright, Mother Wright of Oakland, who fed the homeless back in the 80s when nobody even knew what homeless was. I mean, you look at the epidemic now, she's been around the world, and we just see 1,500 people a day just to give them loaves of bread. So, and you just see the enormous need in the community with, those folks that's been displaced for, almost a decade now. So, so for me, I was 14 years old. My grandmother couldn't read or write. She was a woman of God. She was, we grew up in Church of God in Christ. So I played drums in the church. I sung in the choir. I, prayed for people. So it's just been in me to be able to be that kind of person. And I've actually just put that in business perspective, is that anybody I sit with, I do a need analysis. I'm very transparent. I tell you if it works, if it doesn't work, best practices. I put myself around people that's smarter than me, like yourselves, where I could say, you talk to Crystal, because she does a particular type of seminar that can help you understand the information that you need more thoroughly. So it's just having that algorithm of being able to be around people, but at the same token, is just my whole journey is really just to have a business integrity and to be able to build more Black businesses. The sad part about that, Black don't really do Black. So I have some challenges in 2023, and we don't know how to. It's just like, how do Black people vote? How do Black people go get COVID tests? How do Black people support another Black business? It's all said. It all looks great on the internet. But when you actually sit across from people and really know that they don't know what they're doing, they don't understand the process, and they're not going to be able to feel comfortable with you. So I've learned to be just like an attorney or any kind of consultant professional, is to sit down with them and educate them ways that I think that can help them move their business to the next level.
Your name is quite unique. I mean, different. I've never. There's a little history behind that, and probably the proper pronunciation too.
It's Illya with the Illya. So it's Illya Dailey. So I got this name. It's Illya Kuryakin. It was a show that used to come on in the late 60s. It was Man from U.N.C.L.E. It was kind of almost like a James Bond flick. And the actor in there, he's actually still on CSI. My uncle, and because I actually was a collegiate and semi-pro tennis player, but my uncle lived in Denmark, played tennis, who should watch the show. And he said, he gave it to my mom and said, hey, I think you should name him. I'm actually supposed to be named Thomas Michael Dailey VI. So my father is still upset. He's still upset. So most recently, I realized that it's a Russian name. It's really a starter to anybody I build a relationship with. And just recently found out it means God is He. So I wear it proudly.
All right, Elliot. Also, you misspelled it. I mean, that's why I was looking at
Oh,
it.
I misspelled it, I
Oh,
think.
that was first. Okay.
Yeah, I misspelled it.
And I get that too. I get Elliot, idiot. I get all kinds of stuff. So it's all good.
All right.
You're not an idiot by no means. Elliot, can you talk to, and I know this is a big problem within the Black community, on why you feel we don't advertise, because we can't increase our revenues if no one knows we're in business. I mean, you've been talking to people about this for decades. Do you have any insight on that psyche?
It's understanding there's two pieces, right? So the first piece is that you have either direct response, meaning you need your phone to ring, or you have branding. You build an awareness and then people know that you exist. So I'll give you examples because examples is the best way to understand it. How long has McDonald's been around? They've been around for over 100 years, right? Or let's just say 50 years. But at 12 o'clock every day, there's still a commercial for McDonald's to buy a hamburger. That's what you call branding. They're continuously branding themselves and building that awareness. Then you have to figure out content that's going to give you the direct response piece. So if we take McDonald's again, they're going to have a feature. They're going to have feature the filet of fish, get 2 filet of fish for $5 on Thursday. Boom. So now you've created this awareness. You've created this direct response piece that kind of works together. Or you have them separate. The problem is that it's an educational piece. You know, do people know where to put their phone number? Do we go to our phone numbers? Do we go to phone numbers? Do we go to addresses? Do we go to cross streets? You know, how do you actually make all those pieces work? And that's where radio content come in and content creating coming in and all those other pieces. But it's really difficult, but it's really a lot of education. Radio is not an easy thing to do. People feel that they could put one spot on the air and be like, okay, like you got to build equity with your listening audience. So that's why if you hear a lot of commercials say for personal injury attorneys, they have to wait till there's an accident for their direct response to work. But they are top of mind because you continue to hear these Homa on KBLA, you hear, you have Tammy Mack mention her. That becomes credibility. So when you got an endorsement for on-air personalities, it kind of moves the needle a little bit and builds a level of credibility. So it's a lot of little tricky things. So you can't really put it all in one nutshell, but I say in the end, content creating, direct response and branding and kind of figuring all those elements out to be able to kind of help you grow. And you need 52 weeks. You need 18 months. It's not something you can just jump on right away.
Share with the audience some of your outside of KBLA 1580 AM, some of your activities that we should know or know of.
I'm an all guy sportsman. I mean, Crystal knew of my sports collective media. So back in 2015, 2016, I created a podcast that was relative to helping talking about student athletes. And I had a story that was called Chasing Hoop Dreams. And this was before LeBron created Uninterrupted. So if you probably know about Uninterrupted, we used to build these stories. My son was a D1 player out of Columbia. And so all his friends who play basketball, I was also an AAA certified coach, AAU certified basketball coach. So I traveled for 14 years. I got 4,300 kids to college on a student college program that I built from scratch. I've just started giving them a timeline from 7th grade to the 12th grade. I played collegiate tennis. I was a civil engineer with aspirations to work in architecture. And I ended up in sales. My first job was working with Pepsi-Cola in Torrance after graduating out of college. And I realized that's when my sales career kind of took off. I've worked in every facet of even working for Google and launches of T-Mobile when T-Mobile was VoiceStream, Nextel. I was corporate AT&T with M-Life. So I've been really, really blessed in the corporate world to just kind of have these grand opportunities of being either the number one this or the number one that or the first of this. So I don't know what's in store, but I think with this whole KBLA I worked for KLOS. You know, KLOS was one of the biggest rock stations here in LA. KBC's been around for over 50 years. So I just continue to knock down the ball with these great accolades and opportunities. But overall, I just always like try to be number one, be different. You know, I'm a guy with a lot of swag, so I just that keeps my youth. I'm under 100, but people think I'm about 27. So I'm like, so I like clothes and dressing and acting a fool sometimes. So yeah, having fun. So we created a thing called the brand manager, the brand mixers. And this was another opportunity because people didn't really know about KBLA. There was a time where our phones didn't really operate well, and the computers was kind of half doing their job. And came up with an idea to be able to just get people out. So we will get maybe 5 or 10 sponsors, a venue, like say we did the 1010 Wine Bar, had over 275 people come out, you know what I'm saying, and interact with the radio station. So you might see a lot more of that coming up too as well.
Okay.
Awesome.
Hey, I said a lot.
No.
How much if you save for a small package or a package for a small business to advertise on KBLA, you know, what's the ballpark and what would be the outcome of that? How, you know, would they increase their, you know, whatever that minimal package is and whatever the maximum package is, how would that help them increase their brand exposure?
First of all, I don't sell packages.
Oh.
So I think that's a great term for people that just want to say, hey, we got a $2,000 package. We got a $8,000 package. But my point is this, I could put a package in front of all 6 of you guys and that package just have a $3,000 mark on it. You may not have $3,000, right? So what you're going to do, you're going to like, I don't have $3,000, I'm going to throw that package away. But if I come to you and I say, look, let's sit down and let's do a need analysis of your business. How long your business is, what is your customer, what's your capacities, what are all the elements that's in your business, what does the perfect customer look like? I may not even have a solution for you. So that package might be irrelevant. So what I do is I customize based on the need analysis. And then I get, what could you commit to for a certain amount of period of time? So if I say, can you commit, your campaign is going to require 36 weeks. What could you commit to in 36 weeks? So you might say, well, $500 a week for 36 weeks. And then what I do is I construct a plan that's relative to those dollars per week. So it could be on air, interview, banner ad, website, event, you know, all these different elements and assets. And then I said, here is your campaign. So it's not packaged. So we can start as low as I'll use an example. Malik Books came to me and we started at $250, $250 a week. And he did about 8 weeks. And then he started seeing this growth very quickly. And then now he spends about $3,000 a month. But now we found other elements because now he was just doing on-air commercials for the book signings like Spike Lee's and things of that nature. And then what happened is we found another placement with him. So on our podcast, he has a 15-second commercial that runs 8 times a day, 16 times a day, because on the Tabitha Smiley show. So now he gets a whole nother audience, and now he's increased his revenue stream. So those are little things you figure out. Sometimes you can start off with little or nothing because it's meeting them where I'm at. I mean, because really no one ever, unless you're a major company with a strategist and you planning and you're dealing with an agency, those are people that have budgets. You ask a person in our scales, do they have a budget? They don't have a budget. So what I have to also teach is acquisition costs. So you know what acquisition costs is? It's like you're a restaurant, you're Greg Doolin. I'm mentioning people that I've actually done business with. So you're Greg Doolin, it's $10 a plate. That's family of 4 comes in, they spend average $40, $50. Can you give me $25 of that so that I can actually help you bring another 4 people in? So you teach acquisition costs so that they can say, are you taking a point of some of your acquisition costs and put it aside so that you can plan for a budget to be able to market yourself correctly? So all this is a lot of sit down work that I do with folks before I actually get a check, because at the end of the day, there is no guarantees. It's all really a science and a math. And if you follow the science and the math, then you'll be like the CDC, you'll be really on it. So
talking about science and math, one of the crucial elements is the reach. And I don't know if you are in a position you can share with us, what is your reach? How many eyeballs, ears does KBL reach?
Well, I said, it's really tough because we don't subscribe to Nielsen's, which Nielsen's just gives you all the national radio ratings. And we're just really not at that point yet. So I would say we could probably we could fill up the Coliseum or the SoFi Stadium. And that's only been around for a year and a half. When you look at comparison, KGLH has roughly about 330,000 in Cume, and that's the greater Los Angeles area. So that's who I would match up with in regards to about a half of their listenership, because it is a sophisticated talk radio station. So and not to take anything away from KGLH, but actually working with that audience, it's not as sophisticated because it's music. So so we deal with the folks that are maybe over 50 or over 60 with discretionary income, college educated, kids are going to college. So, if you want to look at it from an LA perspective, your Baldwin Hills, your Ladera Heights, your Inglewoods, the avenues where those are the second, third generation of families that are listening in to KBLA radio. Average income is going to be roughly between 75,000 to 125. And we're 98% Black.
Okay. Now, what can we do in the Black community to support you as the brand manager at KBLA, 1580 AM radio? Talk.
I mean, first of all, we need listeners, and we need listeners. That's only the way people's products are going to work. We need listeners. So we got to increase more listeners and letting people know that we are a bandwidth here that could be a help to you and your business, as well as any of your community events, or just great hot parties or promotions or any of that. So that's what radio does. It thrives on being able, that's where their dollars come from, is being able to help other businesses grow. So, and any events or anything that's coming up, definitely be somebody I can be a point of contact to kind of, guide you in the right direction. So.
Do you have access to the chat box and you put maybe your contact information in there? If not, I can share.
Yeah, I can do that.
Kevin Harbour, he had to jump off, but he would like to connect with Illya in the future.
Okay, cool beans.
We have some conversation with him. I think it's very, very important. I talk to, I'm sitting down talking to all of my clients right now, preparing them for 2023. And one of the top topic is making sure they expand that brand out. We're heading, we may already be in it, but the experts are saying by the latter part of the second and the beginning of the third quarter, we're going to be in a recession. So it's going to be vitally important that we really increase our brand and announcements that we are here and existing, so that they won't their sales or their monthly revenue won't diminish too much. So we'd love to be able to maybe refer people over to you or whatever it is, or have you you do workshops and stuff as well as I do, right?
Yeah.
Because you're about education. So
right. And we got a whole conference room that we can house it. It doesn't cost anything, so if we want to get 25, 30 people to come by and get educated on how they could do business, we can.
I think we lost it for a second. One of the questions I want to ask, again, I mentioned about the weather, on how the weather is in Hawaii today.
So, and Crystal, I'll post these pictures, but I'll be all right when
you get back.
when you on site, then they know exactly where you at, so they might go by the house. So you don't want to do that. So.
Yeah, tell me later when you come back.
So yesterday was history being made. There's history every so many hundreds of years, or so many years. I don't know how many So the weather's actually been in the 76 to the 80s here. But yesterday, there's the 50-foot waves that comes in. It's called the shark waves. And it's a legend here. The guy, he's built the longboards, and he's a longboard legend. And so we actually took a helicopter ride and got to see these 50-foot waves. Oh my God, amazing. On top of having the best helicopter instructor guy swing right to the point where we actually got to see 2 large whales and a shark. So just to be over an island and just be engulfed in that, it was just amazing. And then probably my other experience is that I went ATV riding, and they took us to the top of this mountain, and I planted a tree that I could ping and watch grow, because they took pineapples out of Hawaii. Because, I don't know if you know, I guess the question is, do you know how long it takes for a pineapple to grow? 3 years. 3 years. So 3 years. So they took the pineapples out, and then they're planting these trees. So we had an opportunity. So it's just been amazing. This is, again, it's just amazing just to be always seeing something for the first time, or being part of something for the first time. And but it's a lot of education in Hawaii. It's just I love this type of stuff when you go out and you're just learning, about, Maui is as the channel for the whales. So the resort I'm at, I can actually sit in the infinity pool and just watch whales just jump all day. So it's just been an amazing trip. So,
wow, it's amazing. One thing we like to ask of you is, and again, there's a catch to this, you have to help us make this true. All the people you've met at KBLA, as well as when you were with Stevie Wonder's radio station, if there was one particular guest you like to see on the community briefing, who would that be? And here's the catch: you have to help us get him on the show.
So many. Can I come back to that? Because it's some people.
Name the people you've met. Because your Rolex, your Rolodex, people that you've met in your journey. From the Steve Harvey.
You got to remember. I meet 25 new people a day. Mm-hmm. So I have to give y'all. I will do that for you guys, but I just wanted to be the person that you can help. If anything, the person that really would take this information and run with it, versus someone who just need some more notoriety. So we want to figure out who I can put on your show that you can actually help. So, but just give me some time. Can I get on a plane? Can I come back?
Yeah, you can come back.
And again, the mission of as we crystallize the mission of this particular platform is to educate, inspire, and empower Black folk. And so giving the people that whether, pulling that name out of that's what we're looking for. You don't have to make this commitment now.
Because, it's amazing because there's so many people like All Flavors, No Grease. He has a story. Mr. Fries, he has a story. Taco Mel, he has a story. So that's just in the food truck industry. They had these amazing stories of how they are, who they are, but they still need help. So, but I'll find someone and I'll figure it out for you guys. Promise.
Okay.
Awesome. It's so Duffy said, what trends are you seeing in talk radio? For example, the hot topics, what that is really resonating with your listeners or listeners in general?
It's really about the things that are hitting the button. I think Tavis is doing a good job with, Dominique is always community, politics, the nonprofits. So we're hitting all the angles. So as the dials roll around throughout the day, you got to, if it's financial, you got Lynn Richardson. She sounds like your auntie telling you about how to make better business decisions and how to manage your money. Then, of course, there's that younger audience of crypto. So you got Naja. She's the first or only Black Bitcoin store in Inglewood or something of that nature. So, which is, you got Zoe Williams in the afternoon, you got D.L. Hewley, philanthropist, book writer. So I think you get a variety of different content. And like I mentioned earlier, people follow what they like. So I think we're doing a good job of that. But I think that's part of your question I missed.
Okay. Donna wants to know, how has Black radio been affected by the dropping demographics in Los Angeles?
Well, we just don't do us. So that's where the digital components of podcasting, I think, is going to be vital to being able to get people more in tune to who we are, or just the fact that we have the mobile app. A lot of people, again, it's talk radio, so they're going to follow. There's still $300 billion in talk radio marketing and advertising in just in the LA market. So we actually formed a relationship. I think it's called Grio or Greco. I think it was owned by Byron Allen bought it, and he has a relationship with Tavis, and so they're kind of on the same wavelength in regard. Tavis want to be able to syndicate most of these shows and opportunities across the United States. So you're going to see a lot of smaller markets where we're going to have AM talk radio stations just about us, and I think we're the start of it here in KBLA.
And I think that younger people, more so than our 50 plus, are really into podcasting. I know my nephews, since they've been teenagers, they actually middle school, they've been listening to podcasts, and all their friends do. We're just kind of getting in tap, and I really want to say we really got on tap during the pandemic because we had nothing else to do but watch everything on the internet. Would you agree with that?
Yeah,
that the younger populations are more into podcasting or the podcast?
Yeah, because they're on this phone all the time. So and it's available to them when they need it, or if they did go home. I think it's the thing now where they talk about is it unplugged, so that everything is apps. So if they want to go look at anything, everything's relative to an app. They don't pay like local cable networks. So they operate a totally different. I mean, we were kind of like at LA Talk Live in 2015. We were kind of way before our time. And I think now it's coming full circle because 2015, I was doing what they call block programming on KBC, which was AM talk radio. So, which was still a struggle because it was an AM station. It was really all white station. So it wasn't as vital for me as to help the African American community because, we have a different listenership. So I think I think KBLA gives an opportunity for Blacks to hear Blacks, to listen to and support Black businesses. So what other vessel that you would need to help fill all those lanes?
What other programming would you like to see on KBLA?
Me personally, I'd like to see more sports, and more education for kids. I think even having a kids show, we have to be in a position you guys put me as branding, not brand manager. There was a projects director of content. So that person, you have to have a person that comes in who understands how to build the window of the next 4 years of listenership. So I think we have to come up with something that increases that 25 plus audience. So in 4 years, there'll be 30. So the whole saying was a program director is what I was getting at. So what a good program director is so I make an example. KLOS 95.5 has to have a program director that understands classic rock, right? So classic rock, if I'm 25 years old, a classic rock, if I'm 45 years old, it's two different classic rocks. So you have to actually figure out how to be able to increase that audience. And the same thing, we all listen to KJLH. So sometimes you got Ice Cube on there. Like, okay, how did Ice Cube, because the program director is trying to get a different audience so he can grow that station to the people of age. So, because everything is 25 to 54, that's the core audience. But everyone in the marketplace, no matter where you at, is want to get the 18 plus so that they can actually grow with them for the next 10 years. So by the time they're 28 years old, they've been listening to this content in the radio station. So podcasting is really, really big because it helps build a younger demographic.
Okay. Yeah, I think a kids show would be awesome. Maybe we can talk about that. With my entrepreneurial kids, quite a few of them are trying to figure out how to be in that space, and we're getting ready to incorporate some curriculum that's going to be designed for kids to create digital entrepreneurial type businesses. that they can be able to create a social impact for themselves and their peers.
Yeah, I mean, just to kind of bite a little bit off of that, I was working with a client who handles foster kids, and the foster kid program. I've actually sat with the whole Northern California, Southern California executive group in regards to the foster kid program, and we presented that opportunity. I mean, foster kids have been shifted here, shifted there. They don't make any decisions. And so instead of giving them, stipends to do this and stipends to do that, how not create an entrepreneurial program? Because most of these kids, they have their own ideas. They want to control their own life. They don't want to, have someone continue to direct them with the traffic they need to go. So that is something that you can look into, maybe even as, sponsorship, and then be able to kind of figure out how you can actually build, kids and watch them go through your program. Because when I did college sports for my kids, I knew at 18 it's a prime. It's 3 roads. You're gonna go to college, you're gonna go to military, or you're gonna say, do you want fries with that? So the streets was just not an option. So now kids are so much innovative in their heads. I have a 12-year-old daughter. I say, you could be anything. Like it's amazing what the internet has done. So you could be most anything. You could come up with a whole new idea. And just, I have her watch Shark Tank with me. Like, look, come up with something, you know what I'm saying? So, and now she sells lip gloss at school. She sells chips at school. She hustling. She bought me a birthday gift. Like, okay, let's go, Chloe. Let's go. So the youth is definitely important. You need that younger audience to kind of grow your business.
Great. Well, today I'd like to thank you ever so much for taking time out while you're on vacation in beautiful Hawaii to be our special guest. We're going to follow up from this.
Yeah. If you're reading the chat, someone wants to talk to you. Ms. Pruitt wants to talk to you when you return. We're gonna let you enjoy the rest of your holiday, your vacation. Have fun.
All right, thank you guys. I appreciate it. Anything you guys need from me, you can count on me. And I know Steve. I know me and Stephen have been playing phone tag, but as you now know, Stephen, it's a lot comes along with Illya Dailey. But I want to say thank you for holding on tight, though.
Illya, thank you so much. And we'll send you a copy of the YouTube as well as the Facebook recording so you can share with your colleagues and friends. Because that's okay. We want to increase our subscriber base to our YouTube channel.
Sounds good. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Have fun.
Crystal, we got a special guest coming back.
I know, and we need her because we don't know really what's going on in the COVID world. And that's a concern of mine, Dr. Mays. I need to know firsthand what's happening. All I know is China is in a lot of trouble.
China is in a lot of trouble, and that lot of trouble came from policies where people were up in arms about not wanting to wear masks or to be sheltered. So I don't know. Some of you may work in places right now where we're all being asked indoors to wear masks till after Martin Luther King Day. And part of that is because of all of the congregating that went on during the holidays. It started in Thanksgiving, and at Thanksgiving, what we saw is a bump up. As a matter of fact, some of you may not realize the bump up was close to the county deciding whether it would have to issue an indoor mask requirement. We were at 6.9, I think is the highest. And when it gets to 10% of the, beds being filled, then you would be mask wearing. You would get a warning, but we didn't quite get there. But then we had the holidays that have come up in terms of Christmas. And so there is a concern. So many of the places where I am at UCLA, we're on indoor mask. And other places, it's not required, it's requested. So I want you all to think about this, though, since it's the beginning of the year. While you're trying to get your money together, as I always say, Krista, I want to make sure that everybody that you make wealthy stays healthy. so they can spend the money, not have to give it away, leave it to somebody. But I want you to enjoy each of those dollars that you so carefully work to amass. And so it's the beginning of the year. One of the things I'd like everybody to think about is, what are the preventive things that I need to do this year? And I can't tell you those because it depends on your age. I'd be on here for a half an hour with Crystal if I did that. But you have to think about, do your children need, for example, to get the HPV vaccination because it, has been shown to help prevent cancer? Do you want, for example, to think about, if you haven't had your flu shot, it's still time to get it. The flu season is still in prime layers, because the way flu season works is that it usually starts where it's really cold first, and then it moves. So California gets it later. So there's still, for us, flu in the air. So I want you to think about that. There's a lot of other things that you have to think about. So either go on and Google and say, what are the preventative screenings that I should have? And what are the preventative vaccinations? You can even ask your pharmacist about some of the preventive vaccinations. They can tell you. So if you don't have a doctor or don't want to go to the doctor, go to the pharmacist and just ask, I'm such and such age, what should I do? But what COVID has taught us is it's not just about you vaccinating yourself, but the people that you're going to spend time with. Maybe this is the year for you to try and convince the people that want to spend time with you to tell them, but you need to get vaccinated. If you want to hang out in my house, if you want to bring the little kids to my house, here's what I'm going to ask you to do. And if they need help making those things, again, we've tried to make it easier. And that is by, letting you be able to go to your pharmacist and some of the other places. Now, for those of you who are procrastinators, don't get caught, because what's going to happen is that the resources that have made, a lot of the things that you've seen related to COVID free, they're drying up. So if you don't have health insurance and you haven't been vaccinated, you need to run soon, because after a while, they're going to ask you for $75 or more to get vaccinated. So if you're young and been thinking about, I'm not going to do this, you don't know whether or not you're going to go to a job where they may ask you if you've had a certain number of your vaccinations. So do these things while they are at no cost. Why also everybody thinks that, COVID is over. There's a new variant. And it's like, Crystal is great. She keeps up with the news. And as she presented to you, China is in a world of trouble. We in the US don't want to be in a world of trouble, but we seem to be in positions where we even congregate more. Those of you who traveled, you're sitting up in airports for hours these days. You're sitting on planes for hours. You know that in our labor market right now, nobody has enough help, and you stand in lines for hours. So I want you to think about the fact that your risk environment is just a little bit different. Now, I'm not trying to scare anybody and say, oh, it's so bad, but it's like, if you don't need to get it, don't get it. If you can act on getting a vaccination so that if you get it, you will only be sick, not hospitalized, you should do that. So, Crystal, thank you for paying attention to China, because it's just like, we are in the Pacific Rim. So people need to understand, it's not like on the East Coast. Pacific Rim means that we are going back and forth, and you can get on the airlines and nobody needs to know what you got anymore. And, and then next thing you know, you're here. So I do appreciate that, we need to be thinking a little more about making sure that at this, what we hope is kind of like maybe a tail end, that, none of us get COVID.
Dr. Mays, when I went to South Africa in November, I was sitting in the airport and I look up and I see these like 45 people coming, all white. They were in complete hazmat suits, goggles, everything. And I went, oh my God. So I was on the other side where there was hardly no people. And so for that was kind of the starting point for my whole vacation. I kept a wide berth. And then I learned, I mentioned it to my girlfriend and she says, these are they were Chinese. They were all going back to China.
Yeah.
And at that time, everybody from the Pacific Rim was traveling. And I went, oh my God. But yeah, they were completely covered all the way up to their heads. They didn't even have hair showing. It was a complete hazmat suit that they had on, and they were traveling all together. So I knew at that point there was a problem before they announced what was happening in China. But I think I read something yesterday, 87 or 89% of the Chinese of their billions of people have COVID right now.
They it doesn't mean that they are necessarily hospitalized or seriously ill, but yes. So what that begins to tell you is when you decide to go against public health warnings, it's not just about you. So all the people who took to the street and refuse to any longer go along with public health warnings, those who took to the street and decided that business was taking a hit and they didn't want it to, well, if people are really sick, they really can't spend any money and they're not making any money. So businesses were concerned about deliveries and, not having full restaurants. And so they took to the streets to protest. And so you see what has happened. So there are times at which, even if a public health advisory might be political, there are times at which to look and think about, but what is in my best interest? I hear what the political issue is. Don't walk away from it just because it seems political, but ask yourself, will my community suffer?
You're absolutely right. And I think because they have politicized it so much, it seems like it gets downplayed, but it only makes sense if you're doing the holiday season when everybody's getting together, and everyone got together. And I have heard a lot of very close friends, and I think Donna just indicated, and so did Delphine, to say that their family members have faced things that we weren't hearing about. We seem to have gotten it under control, but all of a sudden, everybody I talk to go, oh yeah, I've been in bed with COVID for the last 10 days and I'm really feeling bad. So yeah, it's about you. Do you want to be safe? And when I start going to my doctor and I see when Kaiser starts putting up signs saying, we're slow today or what, and they're like on point, I know there's a problem going on when I go into places, medical facilities, and they're being much more precautious than they were back in the summertime. So just take care of yourself, guys. The long haul conditions I hear are pretty, I have some friends that are still suffering, and they had it in 2020. Their memory, someone told me as a result of it, they now have, respiratory problems, bronchial problems, things like that. That is chronic now for them.
That's why I'm urging people. It's like, even if what happens is you get COVID and it's mild, there are still, for some people, consequences that go on for a long time, that you then find yourself in the position of having a chronic problem. So it's just not worth it. And I'm looking at Delphine's note in the chat. She's absolutely right. She said, it's like the hospitals were filling up. You want to go to the hospital for something else and you can't get in because of these other things that are going on. So it's like, think about it. You don't want to get sick at all. So get your flu shot, get your COVID shot. We have a very low percentage of people over 65. So you should, be dealing with your parents and aunties, uncles, grandparents, etc., who actually took the boosters. So a mild disease to them is like pneumonia to some extent. So you need to really think about the people in your life as well, because you want them to visit and you want to visit them. And the other thing, just Donna has in here about her mom caught COVID in the hospital. People go to the hospital for other reasons. They test them and then they find out they have COVID. They didn't come there because they have COVID, but the sickness that they have could be aggravated by the fact they have COVID. So again, you know, if they order your tests, this is because pretty soon they won't be free anymore. So I'm trying to tell people, if you got tests in the house, go look at the dates, make sure that they're not, you know, outdated. And if you don't have tests, order them, because when you want one, you may not find one, or when you want one, you may be paying $19.99 for one. And it's like, order them while you can get them for free, because that's going to dry up.
Thank you so much. We so appreciate you. Drop by anytime with all this wonderful information. You know, I love it. Stephen, who's going to be our guest next week?
We're so fortunate that next week we have Mr. Daryl Brown, retired U.S. banking executive with over 40 years experience. Not only has he has a banking background, he's a visionary of the Black cause and what we can do in the community with real viable solutions. So stay tuned next week when we talk about being wise, being faithful, and using your money.
Awesome. Well, guys, thank you so much. Take heed to what Dr. May says. Still masked up. Insist that your family masked up when they come to your house, at least until after the 15th of January. And probably February, because we're gonna have parades. I don't know. Just stay masked up. It's still some gathering going on. Thank you, guys. Make sure you go over to our YouTube channel. Hit the subscribe button. Doesn't cost you anything, but you'll get notifications once I upload the edited version of the community briefing. Share it, pass it on. We really want to grow this platform to be, in addition to the KBLAs, but to be the platform where we can come in weekly to find and talk to people that are making decisions on our behalf and for us and by us in most cases. So we want to thank you guys for coming out. Thank you, Stephen, for being our hostess of the mostest, our MC today. Appreciate you. And Greg will be back next week. I believe Robin's clinical trial is going to switch to a different day, so she'll be back with us. And so thank you guys. We'll see you guys.
We gotta get Delphine and Jonathan as one of our guests.
Yes, we do. Both of them.
Yeah, let's connect.
All right, and I'll send you an email, Jonathan.
Yes, please do. I'd like it. All right.
We'd love to have you guys.
All
See
right.
you guys. Bye-bye, Yeshiva.